Canes fans, just think about this. I know it's been a while, but the news has to still get you a little excited, doesn't it? You thought you had a quarterback, then it was pretty sure that you didn't have a quarterback, but you got what most people think is the quarterback in the transfer portal. Cam Ward coming to Miami, not the NFL. We will discuss here at the Voice of College Football. Miami Talk here with Cam Underwood each and every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And the ACC schedule has been released as well. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, doing good, doing great. Hey, it's a wonderful day here in South Florida. Appreciate everybody being here back with us. I was like in an event last week, so I don't even know what you guys did, but I'm sure that you had a great time, without me and whatnot. But and I know, hey, there's lively chat as always because there was lots of stuff like, hey, we got a quarterback, and that does change everything. In terms of the outlook for this season. So, yeah, good to be back. Glad to be here to talk, Miami Hurricanes with you guys. Let's get it.
And so this is certainly a great indication of what Miami's all about under Mario Cristobal, the new reset of we're gunning for championships. We're paying a top coach first-rate dollars. We're doing all those things. We're all in. But also the NIL era in college football where when a quarterback or any player is leaning toward the NFL, sees those dollars, knows that he's good enough, knows that his draft grade's going to be strong, well, that's a lost cause at another time. But now in this era of NIL, you got a fighting shot to keep those guys.
Yeah, and I think that we did, not only with Cam Ward, but there's some other ones on the roster who might not have been first round draft picks, might have been 6 or 7 round draft picks, but I mean they would have been picked, and then maybe had to fight their way through to make it to a roster. But I think re-recruiting your roster or retaining on your roster is huge, and with NIL being a part of things. I think that was huge in getting Cam Ward to go to Miami, and I think Miami can see the immediate benefit thereof, and this completely. I mean, and remember, guys, I am giving you my read on things in real time. Sometimes, like literally, oh hey, this happened during the show, boom, off the top of the dome, whatever, and like have I thought about some of these things? Maybe if they're in the realm of possibilities, then yeah. But I mean, and I really love the fact that we get positive feedback. Like I hopped on basketball conference with my guys, Mike and Joey, and we went over everything, and we recorded it a week, 10 days before Cam Newton. Sorry, geez, I'm going to do that a lot. Cam Ward decided to reverse course and then pick Miami, and I gave an outlook for the season based upon the quarterback room without Cam Ward. But I mean, in the world of college football, Cam Ward is what a 2 or 3 win player. So I think that you're able to increase the outlook from there. And I think people understood that this was recorded, even though it only released yesterday. It was recorded, a while ago. So all those things, but yeah, being able to recruit your roster and retain guys through NIL and everything else is, the new landscape. And Miami really comes out like gangbusters with that, with the player that we had focused on to upgrade that quarterback room.
So yeah, this will not be a situation where you didn't think much of a player. Now he signs with Miami and you're crafting it a certain way to say, hey, this is our guy and this is great. No, you were talking up Cam Ward as the best player at his position in the transfer portal. So what do you specifically like?
I mean, first of all, it wasn't just me, it was everybody.
Sure.
And you look at that from every blog, every recruiting site, every team site, even from what they were doing, like the moves in the portal, right? So they, teams brought him in and then said, okay, like Florida State brought Cam Ward in. And then Cam Ward told them in no uncertain terms, it ain't going to be here. Smooth, made moves with DJ Uiagalelei immediately, right? So, like, you see that, Ohio State, they're looking at him and everything. And then, that wasn't necessarily a connection. Will Howard, cool. Like, we're going to move on. I mean, so it was not just me, guys, but it was the clear consensus that he's the best game ready player. There is an argument to be made that other players were higher value at the position because of the potential longevity they could have with the program. Specifically, guys like Malachi Nelson, guys like Dante Moore, who had 5-star pedigree coming out of high school and would come in and then they could have multiple years. So if someone was like, well, they're more valuable because they could be at insert school here and continue for more years past next year, because this is Cam Ward's last year of eligibility. Like, he's, but I mean, hey, Cam McCormick, no relation between the Cams, is back for a 9th year, although he did have 4 legitimate season-ending injuries across his career. So, I mean, yeah, it is a joking kind of thing that he's been in college for a full decade, by the time that he'll have hit his, who knows, 4th or 5th commencement. But yeah, Cam Ward was that dude. Everybody knew that he was that dude, and it's plain and simple. I like his arm talent. I like his success at multiple levels. I know that he started at Incarnate Word, but go look at those numbers his second year there. Man, like, okay, I will take that. He goes to Washington State, makes plays with his arms. He's able to keep plays alive with his legs, which is something that we saw with De'Aaron King when he came over from Houston, right? And how that ability had a positive impact on the operations of a Miami offense that at the time was not as diverse and explosive as the Miami offense at present. Back then, and I said it on these streams, go back and look up the videos, I said that we went and got De'Aaron King when he decided to leave Houston because we required having a quarterback who, when it was a fire block or a lookout block, which is like said HUD, all of a sudden the offensive lineman's looking the back way and he's screaming, look out at the quarterback. He was able to make guys miss in a phone booth and keep things going. Now you have a guy who has that ability, can extend plays with his legs, can be maybe the discount version of a Caleb Williams in terms of explosivity from a broken play situation like Cam Ward. And then you put him behind one of the, 3 best offensive lines in the game. I mean, and that's the other thing. There's been other additions to the offensive line group. And shout out to the guys inside the U. They did a podcast that dropped today talking about, they went through every position and said, is this the roster at present at insert position here? Is this a 10-win position? And by the addition of Cam Ward, the answer at quarterback is yes. And not only that, again, I said that Reese Poffenbarger raised the floor, which I agree. Then you have Jakari Brown, you have Emory Williams coming back, to return after breaking his arm, and Judd Anderson. You got a 4-way battle for the backup quarterback, and that's really where I stand on what I said. I don't say things just because I like the sound of my voice. I mean, I do like the sound of my voice, but I don't just say it to say it. I honestly stand on business. Reese Poffenbarger raised the floor. You bring in Cam Ward, and the ceiling is the roof. And he's shown the ability to make big plays. He's shown the ability to beat quality teams. Now, it wasn't always, and it wasn't perfect, and he was at Washington State. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Him and Josh Kelly, the wide receiver out there, they had a really great connection. And they, if you go back and look at the highlights, it got away from him, but that game against Oregon was competitive. You look at these other games up and down the schedule, he has an ability at quarterback that we haven't seen in a while. And again, everybody and their mama wanted him. And his debate wasn't even between, any of the other schools that brought him in and Miami. His debate was between Miami and the NFL. And I mean, credit to him for coming back and really betting on himself after getting a grade that was rumored to be in like the mid-third round. Also, credit to Miami for leveraging all the leverage that they had. Little Tua was on campus as per multiple reports. So, we're going back at him and going back at Cam and saying, bro, last chance. And he's like, what? That NIL money and the chance to, because I always said Miami as a program was at their best. We were at our best when the head coaching job in football was 4 years, 5 years in the NFL. Look at all the guys who left. Dennis Erickson went to the league. Jimmy Johnson is a Hall of Famer. Howard Schnellenberger hated it, but I understood he was trying to go build something else after having built here. Even a Butch Davis coming off the sanctions and things left the year before the championship. But when you have that 5 years, maybe 6 years in the NFL thing, and you're having all of these assistants whose names that like it's been a while since Miami's had that, right? But think of a Mark Stoops. Think of Ed Orgeron, right? Think of all these guys who were, the Randy Shannons of the world, the Greg Schianos of the world. Think of Mark Chudzinski. No, was it Mark? Greg. Yeah. Chud, who was an incredible coordinator. And then he went to the NFL and was a coordinator and a head coach and everything. It's been a while since we've had that kind of talent across the coaching staff. And I think that we're getting back towards that. But when you have the players to make the plays, you can have things go in a positive direction. So it's really a huge win to get Cam Ward. Like I said, he's +2 on the outlook that you had or that I had on the roster from last year. So I was looking at 8-4 really being reasonable. I know it sounds like a broken record, but with everything, I'm looking at 10-2 or better. We have the ability, we have the players at every position. And I started a little bit on this mini tangent. I didn't even get to adding one of the starting left guard from the Washington Huskies team that played for a national championship, right? In addition to Zach Carpenter, who we already talked about, to the recruits, in addition to Markel Bell, in addition to retaining Jalen Rivers, as opposed to him going and being a 5th or 6th round draft pick, a guy who started at left guard and left tackle, he comes back, retaining a Jared Harrison Hunt instead of a guy who goes and as a 5th or 6th round draft pick, a defensive tackle, former basketball player from high school, Martin Luther Christ the King in New York, like a well-known prep basketball factory. He's really, leaning into things. Hell, retaining Akeem Mesidor, who, got injured in game 1 or 2 and barely played, 2nd team all conference, first team all Big 12 before he transferred down. This is a guy with a name who's made lots and lots of plays. After 4 years, you figure, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe I'm a 5 or a 6, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to grind. But you're retaining those dudes. Now, it wasn't everybody because, maybe they hoped that Matt Lee was going to come back, but I always viewed him as a one and done. Javion Cohen was always going to be a one and done. Guy is in terms of transferring to Miami and then going to the league. But yeah, there's talent all over this roster. You get the most productive and highest ceiling quarterback that was highest ceiling for 2024. Again, you could argue that some of the young guys in the long timeline might have a higher ceiling, but none have a higher ceiling than Cam Ward for 2024. So yeah, in my mind, he's +2 on whatever you thought or were looking into this season at. And this is in another huge recruiting win for Mario, because it was still, it was a wedding, the roster was a wedding ring without a diamond. It's great. It's a wonderful setting and has all this intricate stuff. Your girl or, whomever is going to enjoy this thing, but it's waiting for the centerpiece, the thing that's going to draw the attention and elevate that to a new level. You went and got Cam Ward. The level has been elevated, my friends.
I was not aware of the safety pickup from the national runner-ups. As you mentioned there, Micheal Powell, I believe is how you would pronounce his first name. 38 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, had 6 passes defensed, had a pick 6 as well. So
Yeah,
that's a
and
nice little
again, that's
pickup.
another guy who goes to help out a position of need. Obviously, losing both safeties towards the Senior Bowl and the NFL draft. You know, he was even recruiting his secondary mate, the cornerback number 1, Muhammad, who was like, "Hey, dog, like, you know, you want to ball together? We started in the secondary somewhere else already. We got gaps at cornerback. You know, we can use additional game-ready players, right? Hey." You want to go put on a show at Miami and be a second-round draft pick and be an all-rookie pick like Tyreek Stevenson after being at a blue blood program that was playing on the biggest stage, that played for a championship, coming down and get coached by Jamil Adai, right? We've already seen that work at that very position. Don't need everybody at corner, but boss man, you want to come on down, play with your secondary mate who's transferred here to Miami. Come on with it. So yeah, there's still some things we could develop in terms of the roster, but yeah, I mean the straw that stirs the drink is Cam Ward, and man, it's yeah, like I said, +2 on whatever you thought going into the season. We're going to talk about the schedule in a little bit, but I mean, it's very reasonable that Miami could be favored in every single game. And I know that we've been there before and we lost these games, but like, I know that it hasn't gone the way that we want it to go, but I'm going to reach over here to my right, excuse me. But you know, another team who had designs on things not going in a different way that didn't for a long time, that's seeing some things that they haven't seen in forever. My Detroit Football Lions. I'm not going to say it's the exact same, right? But if we're talking about past glory or better performance, if we're, you know, you guys like, oh man, yeah, you're from Detroit and, you know, Michigan won the national championship. They split the championship in 97 because there were 2 different polls, but they won the championship in 97, my sophomore year in high school. The Detroit Football Lions won a playoff game when I was in 4th grade and never in the interim until now, right? So eventually, as I've been saying with the Lions, this is the year that we lean into expectations. We embrace the challenge. We've built the roster. We have the talent, and we're going to do what we need to do. And even my friends who said, okay, let's go down the roster or down the schedule, Cam. Week 1, Thursday night, season opener across the NFL, national TV in Kansas City, ring night for the defending champions. That's a loss. And I said, oh, hey, wait. Why is that a loss? Now, did I think that it was reasonable that we would have lost? Yes, but I'm not writing off I didn't write off any single game as a loss on paper. For Miami, adding Cam Ward, adding these other guys to the roster and buoying the talent across the field, when we look at the schedule, I openly look for a game that Miami won't be favored in. Like, it's time, really time, with adding a quarterback who can be a guy to take us to these heights, lean into expectations, a la the Lions, and really get this thing going.
Falconer TRX kicking us off as always. Super sticker. Thank you, sir.
Throw up the X.
And we got Falconer coming back with this one. Thank you for the 305. Retaining roster is huge to culture in NIL era.
Yeah, man. And this is, again, how you build a program, not just a team. I'm looking at you, Deion Sanders, right? Like, we have the ability to hopefully build on this year over year. And again, even if you're talking about the offensive line, right? You bring in a starter, you know, a 20-plus game starter in Zach Carpenter, right? I forget the guy's name from Washington, but again, he's like a 20, almost 30-game starter at left guard. Just started this past year on one of the most explosive offenses in football. You retain, and then on top of your retention, like I said, all 3 other starting linemen, Rivers, Cooper, and Maui Noah. Now, again, I know you're thinking to yourself, yeah, they weren't going to go anywhere. In the area of NIL, says who? But you retain the guys who are there to be retained. You add in players in certain places, and yeah, man, like we're one more top 5 recruiting class away from, in 3 years, with transfers added on top, Mario completely flipping this roster and really having it look like he wants it to look.
I'm not finding this Washington guard out of the 10 incoming transfers.
Nate Kalepo.
Okay, I know that name from watching the playoff games, but I don't
Well, he
see
was on
him
an official visit. Maybe it's not official yet.
He's not on the 247 list.
Right. Well, I know that he was down for an official visit.
Okay.
So maybe I oversold it, but I thought that I'd seen that he had or was going to or widely thought to be transferring there. So to Miami. So maybe I went a little bit too far. But I think that's about to happen. Love all the cam on cam discussion. Yeah, man. Falcon and TRX. We have that, and it's funny. I was writing an email to someone at the secret day job, and they emailed me back, and they spelled it like the rapper CAM''RON, and then it came back. It was just like, oh, hey, we have somebody on site here whose name is your name but spelled in the way. And I'm like, it's all good. I understand, but it's fine.
All right, folks, we do this on Wednesday nights with Cam Underwood from State of the U. 362 shows in the books. Appreciate you being here, and do all that you can to help us continue to build and grow and be here every Wednesday night. That starts with a like. That's easy to do. Just hit the like button. Tell folks that that love Miami football, that love college football, because we've got fans from other fan bases that want to join the conversation, to stop by. Hey, you can still stop by tonight or get them back here next Wednesday, 7 Eastern time. All right, time to check out the ACC schedule release. And with all of the marketing nightmares.
Pause. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers.
Yes.
I just saw that. So, and I just saw my group chat was going crazy. I do not know off the top of my head if we can get any of the guys on the Michigan roster, but like the Alabama and Washington rosters, I am down to evaluate pretty much everybody. Particularly at positions that we could use. I would be shocked if they do not promote Sharon Moore to keep the good vibes going there. But this is one of those live reaction things, guys. Like I said, my phone was going crazy. I looked down and saw that. So another transition period in the world of college football at the very top for the champion Wolverines. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that, even though it's pretty obvious, I guess I didn't process it with these two portal windows, the one after the season and the one after spring practice, that, oh yeah, this could be extended by coach leaving. And if obviously it's been the domino effect with Nick Saban retiring, Alabama's open, Washington coach leaves, Washington's open, Arizona coach leaves, goes to Washington, Arizona's open, San Jose State coach goes to Arizona, and finally Ken Niumatalolo, the former Navy coach, leaves to plug the hole at San Jose State. So that stopped the domino effect. But 4 job openings has released all these players into the portal, which also underlines that even in this NIL era, that these players are attached to the coach, and they are attached to the system and what they've been sold and the relationships that have been built. And so many go ahead and look for another opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, and you see all of these players following their coaches around the country, as they should, like they're recruited by that guy to, play a specific role in their organizations and their programs moving forward. But yeah, interesting. Like I said, I literally just saw that. So I don't have anybody off the top of my head, and especially like super top end of the roster guys. I don't see them necessarily leaving Michigan, fresh off of a championship and everything. But I mean, players have 30 days window after a coach leaves, retires, either whatever, to hop into the portal. So we have until the end of February to adjudicate that with Michigan, and we will see. But, Michigan has a strong offensive line. So if there's some offensive linemen, again, talking about building a consistent elite group for many, many years, and some of those defensive linemen would be nice. But hey, we'll see.
And that's where I believe they're going to continue to be strong if they can retain those guys. Michigan will challenge the NFL draft record for players selected this year. I counted 22 guys that have a chance to be drafted. Now, they're not going to have 22 drafted, but they've got 22 guys that are eligible. So a lot of what was the championship team won't be there, but they still have an extremely strong team with a lot of players that, will be pursued by other schools. Absolutely. All right. 5 years ago, Miami and Florida got together in the season opener in Orlando. Here we are in 2024, and it's a Miami trip to the Swamp to open the season. Cam, what are your thoughts about your first look at the 24 schedule?
It's a dub, starting right off the top. I said it before. They do have some players and everything. Like, I don't think that they're going to lay down and it's going to be, 63-0 or anything. But I said it even before we got Cam Ward. This is going to be the kickoff of his potential first team All ACC season in Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville. That has to be a win. I am not entertaining anything else. If it is something else, I need to see what the rest of the season looks like. But I mean, like, you have to win that game. You have to win that game if you're Mario. I mean, this has to be, when Oregon went to Ohio State and like they rallied all of the troops and all of the trick plays and everything to win on the road in Columbus. This is a burn the boats situation. Like, it is because like they're not good. And their coach is embattled. I know that they got a couple really good recruits in DJ Lagway and McCray, but LJ McCray. But man, they whiffed and whiffed and whiffed and whiffed and whiffed and whiffed and whiffed in the world of recruiting. Like, they had guys leave that roster. I mean, you have ETN go to Georgia. They're, starting running back goes. I mean, Hatfields to McCoy's like across the rivalry lines. And he's like, cool, like this is fine. I'm gonna go start over there and play for a real organization. You know what I mean? But like with all that going on and all that being embattled, like you cage or you put a wild animal in the corner, they're gonna fight back. But I don't care about them fighting back. You as Miami cannot be the win that buoys their situation. It cannot be like this year's basketball team that lost to a Louisville team that by all rights should have already fired their head coach. And I tweeted about it a week before it happened. I said, look, we dial in, get it right. Everybody's blowing them out. Play for real. And last year in a similar situation, they had a guard who went off for like 37 points and we barely won that game. This year, same thing, but Miami doesn't play. And then all of a sudden, for a week, they're like, hey, maybe we can turn things around because we beat Miami, because we showed this. You cannot have that in the world of football. You cannot be the stepping stone towards whatever, retention or settling of his job and everything. No, you must win the game. I don't care. We are going, and like, the legend of burning the boats. I know that like the Miami Heat fans who are in here know this because Spoelstra uses, but basically, Trojan or Greek warriors, they would take boats to places and blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna have boats because we go back and said, look, we're burning the boats. We're not running away. There will be no retreat. We are here 10 toes down. And the only thing that we're going to do is win this war, take over this place, and this will be where we will build new boats to then go back where we are from. But there is no other option. There is no, okay, if it's not going well, no, burn the boats. Everybody all the way in. Just like I'm talking about with the Lions, if you watch my tweets, every playoff game So every week since week 16, I've said the same thing. Every player, every play, every second of the game, it is the most important thing that you have going. This is one of those situations. You cannot lose to them again. Period.
As we make it down through the rest of the schedule, and I respond to somebody who just dropped a super chat that we will get to as soon as we go through the scheduling analysis.
Right.
Get that win in Gainesville, and you got to think it's a 4-0 start, and also a pretty heavily favored situation against Virginia Tech at Hard Rock.
And Cal, so
Yes.
like, yeah, I mean, FAMU, come for the band, stay for the game. Testicle Tech, good old Ball State, bring them down. That should be a win. Go up to USF. I mean, be sure
I've
that you're
never heard
dialed
that
in.
one
Weird
before.
things, huh?
I've never heard that one before.
I
Testicle Tech.
have friends who went there. It's up in northern Indiana, Muncie, Indiana, so
Yes.
very close to the border. But that's what they called it. So I learned that from people who went to Ball State. But yeah, USF. I was going to say, weird things happen. I know that they're building and everything. They played Alabama pretty close. Go back up. I want to see the top part of the schedule again because I'm going to make this point. And then Virginia Tech on a Friday. So a short week, but then you get that extra day going across country to the Bay Area to play at Cal and then a bye. So, yeah, you really should be looking at 6-0 in there. With the current formation of the Gators program, Miami should be favored in that game. I think they're going to be favored in all these other games reasonably. And then in week 7, you have a bye, which is huge. Because the last few years, our bye has been week 5. So it's been 4 games bye week and then 8 games straight. Now, the other thing with that is there's an extra Saturday in the window of the season. So teams get 2 byes. And I've even seen on the ACC schedule, there's a team with 3 byes. Who is it? It is SMU has 3 bye weeks during the season just because of the way that it falls. So I know that we have more teams in the ACC now and all this stuff, but like finally we're at a point where they're not giving us this super early bye week like before. And I think that can be advantageous to continue, number one, the momentum from the early season, and number two, having backloaded bye weeks. Like if you get a little dinged up like Miami did, now we all of our bye, because we have 2 bye weeks, are after October starts instead of one in September or the very top of October, but we have middle of October and then a November bye. That is so much better for the flow of the season. I've been calling and begging for them to remove the week 5 bye from our scheduling paradigm, and especially engagement with Miami. I am super excited to see that has changed. That's a really, it's not a thing that a lot of people are going to say. That's a big win by dropping the bye week. Even though we have 2, it's still a big win to drop it.
Okay. Then it seems to get into the meat of the schedule, going to Louisville, and then, of course, the rival, and then some other ACC games.
Yeah, so this is the thing, so they're moving, the Florida State game around. So off of the bye at Louisville, and then, circle the date and mark your calendars, everything. Last Saturday of October, Miami and Florida State in Hard Rock Stadium. Then we get the Manny Diaz Bowl, Duke Blue Devils coming down the week thereafter. So I know that he's going to have them keyed up. I know he's going to be, and I know, they say, well, yeah, whatever. Listen, coaches are competitors too. So you know that he's going to want that game. But again, even just looking at the things, the games on the schedule or on the screen right now, what's a game that Miami won't be favored in? Maybe on the road at Louisville, but I don't think that that's going to hold up by the time we get there. Maybe Florida State, because that's a rivalry game and the line is close. But again, I don't see one that's, clear, 3 touchdown underdog. and then, go up to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech and Bobby Dodd. Hopefully we don't have any shenanigans like last year in the Georgia Tech game, which, Lord Jesus. And I mean, when I went on the basketball conference podcast, Joey, one of their co-hosts, my good buddy, is an alum of Georgia Tech. So yeah. But yeah, hopefully not that. But again, I don't see a game where Miami won't be favored. And then the second bye week, middle of November, in November 16th, because we have the extra week in the fall calendar. So October 12th, 1, 2, 3, 4 games, and then another bye November 16th. And then we come back for the closing sprint, senior day against Wake Forest on the 23rd. I mean, again, Miami should be favored there. I know Dave Clawson coach teams are tough teams, and Wake Forest runs a unique offense, and they, but like, again, we should be favored there. And then for the first time in forever, we have the Saturday game, not Black Friday. So not the day after Thanksgiving, but the Saturday game at Syracuse and the JMA Wireless, dome up there. And again, I think that that's a game that Miami should be favored and reasonably win. Like this all flips up. And I mean, I know, like, is it possible that Miami could lose a game, couple of games, few games even? Yes. But like where we stand with what we got, again, it's us against ourselves, man. If we do what we need to do with the players that playing the way that they can show or have shown that they can play, it's all there for the taking. Miami is the favorite, the prohibitive favorite, has to be going into the season with the roster, the quarterback, and this schedule that we're talking about. Like, this got to be 10 or 11 regular season wins. And I know that is like triggering for people even to say those numbers or to really look at those as being the goal and target and things like that. But, it's all there. It's all there. And I know you're saying, but it's been there for us before. And we've had this malfunction and that. And, Georgia Tech, we're trying to get Don Chaney a 100-yard game and had the fumble, which wasn't a fumble because he was down. But still, you lose that game and and there's been times, and there have been, right? But also, we have to move forward. We have to really be focused on that excellence. And you cannot let your mistakes of the past inhibit your performance moving forward. I'm going to use another very direct example with my Detroit Lions. You could not let the fact that Charles Rogers snapped his collarbone 2 years in a row and then got addicted to painkillers and then fell off in his performance. You could not let that preclude you from drafting Calvin Johnson because he played wide receiver, and the last wide receiver that we drafted, number 2, who's from Saginaw, went to Michigan State and was all-world everything. It didn't work out, so we cannot draft a wide receiver at number 3. You're out of your goddamn mind. Have you seen this freak 6'5", 240 pounds, running sub 4.4, like mid 4.3s. I get what you're saying, that the other one didn't work out. But that was then and this is now, and we have to go in this direction because this is the right direction. Bro, I know that, it's not even once bitten and twice shy. It's been like 17 times bitten over the last 20 years. But looking at this schedule, bro, it has to be double-digit regular season wins. It just absolutely does.
Kim, I am over here while you are pontificating, and I'm doing some work here, because what I'm doing basically is we just went through the Florida State schedule. And for both of these teams being in the ACC, there's no comparison in these two schedules, as Miami should be able to clean up on this schedule, to your point. So how I like to break it down is throw out all the games that are the same, of course. Mm-hmm. They both play Georgia Tech, Cal, Duke. They play each other, of course. They both play Florida. So there are 6 games where they either play each other, they play a common opponent, or just throw out the Florida A&M versus the Charleston Southern game as being the same game. Forget that, because they're both going to roll by 50 points. Okay, right. So you've got 5 games that are different. And if you put them in order of difficulty for Florida State, they are Clemson, Notre Dame in some order, North Carolina, Boston College, and SMU.
We
And
don't play
for,
any of them, by the
pardon me?
way. Any of those teams that you just listed,
Yes.
Miami doesn't play a single one.
Well, that's my point. These are the games in which that are different from Miami's 5. They play 5 different teams. So that's Florida State's run. Miami's. So out of Miami's other games that they do not play that are like Florida State, that are not common opponents, how would you rank them in terms of difficulty? I guess Louisville's got to be the most difficult game. It's not even that close.
Right.
It's
So
Louisville.
it's Louisville, Virginia Tech, Cal, Duke, Wake Forest, or Wake Forest, Syracuse.
Yeah, they played Duke as well. So it's actually USF and it's Ball State. I'm talking about the entire schedule.
Yeah.
So think of it this way, folks. Would you rather play Clemson, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Boston College, and SMU, or play Louisville, Virginia Tech, Cal, USF, and Ball State?
Oh, so those are the different games?
Those are the difference.
Oh, come on. Like, again, when you look at it like that, I mean, when you look at it in general, so those games that you're seeing, well, remove FAMU because that's an allegory for another, bye game. But Ball State, USF, Virginia Tech, Cal, and Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisville is the most difficult game. And I mean, I know that they have 17 Miami transfers because like everybody transferred there, Jaleel Skinner and Donald Chaney, and I mean, even more. Like, I get it. But yeah, if you were to list, like, if we were to go down, okay, the quality, like the top programs in the ACC, right? And we were to go down that list. Florida State somewhere at the top. I don't like to say it, but fine. Miami's up there. Then how long until you get to Louisville? Because I'm taking, I mean, in an associated way, I'm taking Notre Dame. I'm taking Clemson. I'm probably taking Carolina. SMU, there's an argument there. So all these teams are teams that Florida State is playing that we're not playing, and they're, the better teams in the league. Like, this is cream puff. This is, if you are a top tier team, you are thanking your lucky stars for this. Like, this schedule, man. Like, again, I know that we play Florida State every year, and fine, we have, so Virginia Tech, remember, is a tentpole team that is a protected rivalry every single year. So we play them every single year, and we play Florida State every single year. Those are the new 2 protected rivalries. It just so happens in the rotation we're playing Louisville again, but as we've added these new teams, it's only 2 protected rivalries, not that 3 when they're trying to make fetch happen with Miami, Louisville. And I get it because they recruit a lot down here and whatever. But those are the 2, right? So our protected rival is like a mid-tier team, and then Florida State and everything, but we're missing all of the other more talented, better, more successful teams. Like, if you're like, yeah, okay, what would my ideal schedule be to be successful, right? In even, whatever, North Carolina, it's 5 in a row and 7 out of 9 that they've beaten us. So for whatever reason, even if like they're a middling outfit because like they're losing to all these other teams, they're not losing to Miami, right? Cool. They're not there. Clemson, we finally slayed that dragon after getting drugged to 937-3 over 5 games or whatever it was. Beat them last year, but that's still a very talented team. They're not on there. Notre Dame, very talented program. They're not on there. Like, if you're looking down and saying, hey, what are the teams that I don't want to have on this schedule, or if they were not on the Miami schedule, would make it advantageous for Miami? Again, with the exception of Florida State, who we play every year, every one of the teams on that list is not on this schedule. That's what I'm talking about, and I appreciate the banter back and forth to show and illustrate that. This schedule is so incredibly handpicked by your deity of choice to be like, Miami, here. You know what I mean? If you're, you're waiting for a sign, or you're looking for that help, or you're looking for a path you can traverse, you're saying, hey, like, I know that God gives his soldiers the hardest battles, but like, yo, can I get something that's manageable? There, like, fine, heard, prayer delivered, praises go up, blessings come down in the form of this schedule, guys. That's what I'm talking about. And we have to strike while the iron's hot. Because you're not going to miss all these teams pretty much ever again in any single season. So, and because I think this is a 2-year rotation, I know they're going to look and be like, bro, we didn't give Miami, and again, a Miami team that still does television numbers. So the bigger television brands of Carolina, Notre Dame, Clemson, not on this schedule, saying, yo, look, we're trying to keep up, not even keep up with the Joneses. We're trying to keep up with whoever lives next to the Joneses, because SEC and Big Ten are doing all these numbers. So we have this incredible television property, and we're not giving them premium games on the list. What are we doing? We have to change this up. You're not going to get this kind of a cakewalk ever again. It is really incumbent upon Miami and Mario Cristobal. Like, this is, if ever there was a time to show and prove, this is it. You have recruited 3 recruiting classes, even if, for the real formation, I've said, a couple of years ago was year 0, last year was year 1, this year's year 2. If you're looking, no, this is year 1, 2, and this is coming into year 3, this is when you have to show and prove. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, the propensity for a team or a coaching staff to really elevate and start winning 9 and 10 games, it hits in year 3. This is that. And you have just, obviously there's professional coaches on both sides. There's scholarship players on both sides, right? But comparatively, you should be, this is Lionel Richie easy like Sunday morning. Bro, like, if ever there's a time and you need and want another top 5 class, you need to show and prove. We had to hit that, tangible work product of giving wins, and a thing for these recruits to really latch on to, trying to elevate this, that, the third, all these other things. This season has to be it. Come hell or high water, man. Like, it really does. This is a gift of a schedule. It honestly and truly is. And we have to take advantage of it. And because I dare and defy to look forward to, the next time. Let me actually look on FB schedule. If I go to future Miami football schedules, get out of here, add, in 25, you got USF, Florida, both coming to Hard Rock, but then also you have Notre Dame. In 26, South Carolina and Notre Dame on there. 27, South Carolina, like, even that right there, you start to see, yeah. And I guarantee you, when they look at the rotation for these 2 years, the ACC will say, maybe we threw them a bone because Miami's been bitching and complaining, even though it's been, in that very, let me speak to your manager kind of a way, because we're a private school, instead of the I'm yelling and screaming and flipping tables way that Florida State has gone about things, right? But so we're going to throw them a bone. We're going to meet them halfway. But like, that was the one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be every time that you walk into my Starbucks store, where I used to work at. Let me talk to the manager. Let me talk to the manager. Let me talk to the manager. You get like one of those. And I think that this is the one. So we have to take advantage of it. We really do.
There you go. Appreciate y'all being here at the Voice of College Football. Let's pick up the super chat coming in from, get the glasses going here, Light Skin Cage. One question for Cam.
Yes.
Who is the D lineman? My apologies. Who is the D lineman that will step up and compliment Bain? One question for Mark. Well, let's go that direction.
If you're talking specifically with edge rusher, I think that getting Akeem Mesidor back healthy is a huge step. I think that getting Nigel Kelly back healthy is a huge step. And I think that some of these freshmen can come in spaces in spots and really be impactful. You look at a Marquise Lightfoot out of Chicago, kid who was a super high riser through the rest of the recruiting process, dominated in a couple of All-American games, ends up number 34 overall on 247. He's just outside of 5-star range. Rivals actually did give him his 5th star. He's top 20. I think he was like number 17, both on his jersey and his ranking in the final Rivals rankings. I didn't see what On3 did for their end of year rankings, but they're still new-ish, so I'm not really sold on 100% their evaluations. But I mean, you have a guy who's really shown the ability to get after the quarterback, right? I think that he can come in right now and make an impact in spots. Booker Pickett Jr., I know that he was said to be playing between will linebacker and edge rusher, but this is a guy who simply proved to be unblockable again at multiple All-American games. That's a guy who might be able to step in and flash. And then you have other guys on the roster. Jaden Wayne is a guy who has great physical talent, an high school All-American from Seattle, and then he ended up transferring to IMG Academy. Maybe he takes a step forward in his development. It's looking maybe that he's more of a rotation guy than a standout guy, but so your rotation guys can come in and be, impactful in spots. So specifically at defensive end, I think that there is a wealth of talent that we can lean on to complement Bain. And I'm also interested to see how often he kicks inside, because he does have that more boxy frame. And I think that, defensive tackle, that's a spot where I'm okay with the depth. I would prefer to have one more adult body, like a 3rd or 4th year, 6'4", 310-pound guy, like another Jared Harrison Hunt type guy in that room. But I think it'll be interesting to see when he kicks it, or how often Bain kicks inside. And like Gregory Rousseau, when he kicked inside, that's just unfair for opposing guards of pretty much every single team. But yeah, in terms of defensive end, I think it starts with Akeem Mesidor, like I said, who's been all conference in 2 different conferences. Nigel Kelly, who, I was saying was going to take a huge leap last year, coming back off of injury. Starting with those guys and then going down the rest of the list, I think that's a reasonable spot to look for guys who can complement Bain on the other side of the line.
And Light Skin Cage, appreciate it. Question for me: is the Cam Ward move the type of overcome the odds move that other elite head coaches make at top programs? Well, I think we've got to view this in regards to this being a very different landscape in college football, that we are seeing the the fire hose just bust loose. So we've had a couple different transfer portal cycles prior to this, but this has been the one, especially at this position with the level of marquee players. Cam named a few at the younger stages of their careers, Malachi Nelson and Dante Moore, but Will Howard, Cam Ward, Will Rogers, KJ Jefferson, on and on. We're talking like 12 to 15 starting quarterbacks at Power 5 programs that are switching spots. But Cam Ward, out of all of that, as our Cam, described off the top, and we've had this discussion many times, has been the guy that every significant scout, development person that is around the game 247, all the various sites, everyone has pinpointed as the guy. And look at Ohio State and what they're doing in the transfer portal, and they didn't get that guy. They went to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, whatever you would rank Will Howard. So Cam Ward, yes, this is a significant, could be game-changing, program-changing type of move, because we know that the quarterback position is the pivotal position, and that is the pivotal player, and that's what Miami has lacked, among other things, over the last several years. So they got a guy that has all the skill and all the ability to make it happen. Absolutely. All right, folks, appreciate you being here. Canes Live, hit the like button on the way out. Do all those good things to help support us and what we do here at the Voice of College Football, and specifically on this show with Cam, our Cam. What's going on at State of the U?
Yeah, man, getting ready for the State of the U Awards season recap. Obviously, I got to get something up on this schedule coming out, and some basketball stuff. So always working on, obviously a little bit slower as we are post-season, but going towards spring. But there's always some great stuff. I've seen some other pieces up on the website as well. I'm not going to spoil those, but go on over to stateoftheu.com and be sure that you fan with us in all of our places, and engage with our socials on Twitter and Facebook at the State of the U, here on Underwood Sports, on my Twitter account, just going through things as well. So lots of little things, but didn't forget about anything. But we'll have our season awards coming up, the State of the U Awards for this year, looking back at the 2023 season and looking ahead eventually to spring and the 2024 season, starting with this schedule release. So plenty of great stuff. Come on over and fan with us. And we will see you guys right here sometime soon.
Folks, understand that we do not take your support and your interest and time here with us for granted. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next Wednesday.